Welcome to the PPSS Success Show. My name is Fong, and today we have another great guest. He comes highly recommended by a lot of people all around the world because he's been helping a lot of people get in tune with themselves, understand how their minds work, how their bodies work, and how they work together so they could really unlock their potential. He's worked with over 75,000 professionals, helping them succeed, helping them reach that next level. He has co-founded two wellness centers, two international training centers, and also he truly, truly believes that regardless of anyone's circumstances today, in the past, maybe even in the future, that absolutely everyone matters and also holds the potential to unlock and live that deeply purposeful and also self-actualized life. He is the man when it comes to manifestations because he knows everything about that. He goes around telling people, hey, you got to do this because it really benefits our lives in all aspects. And he also shows that why sometimes it's not working correctly because they're not doing it like the right way, or certain things just aren't aligned, which is why the results aren't there. He's showcasing how there's three levels of it, how we can leverage it, and sometimes why our bodies are the main, most misunderstood asset when it comes to high performance and also manifestation. So please welcome somatic science expert, co-author of Manifestations for Dummies, Mr. Brian Trzaskos.
Cool. Fong, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I was just touching base with you before we hopped on the recording and saying, like, I've been listening to your podcast and I love your enthusiasm. Your enthusiasm is just simply infectious, your energy to go out and create just amazing things in the world. And it really helps to not only bring forth the expertise of your guests and just makes your show really, really enjoyable and really actionable. So I really appreciated that about you.
Well, thank you very much. That pumps me up even more. So much appreciated. So let's jump into it. How did you become this manifestation expert? This person who's telling people, hey, this is what you need to do with your mind, this is what you need to do with your body, how it all goes together. Because I'm pretty sure that you didn't come out of school going, you know what, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So for me, I come out of the health. I have a strong health background. So I was originally trained as a physical therapist. 30 plus years ago. But my story starts even a little bit before then. When I was 14 years old, my paternal grandmother died of cancer. And in that time in the 80s, the cancer care was kind of like the dark ages of cancer care. And she basically chemo is what she died of more than anything else. And after she passed away, it was really devastating for me personally. And I asked myself a question. One of the questions I asked myself was, why didn't she heal? And because other people had healed from cancer and that kind of stuff. And I said, why didn't she heal? And it kind of set me off on this kind of journey of wanting to understand, like, our physiology primarily. Like, why does it heal? Why doesn't it heal? So I became a physical therapist. One of my first jobs out of college was at a world-renowned rehabilitation center for neurological rehabilitation in Colorado, actually. And I worked with people who were recovering from traumatic brain injury and realized that some people healed when they weren't supposed to, and other people didn't heal when they were supposed to. And so it got me kind of thinking about just health manifestation. Like, how do we create health, not only from a wellness perspective, but from when we're actually recovering from devastating injuries in our lives? And why do some people heal and some people don't heal? I started really to study some of those features and understand that whether they realized it or not, the people that were healing were kind of following a certain set of laws or principles that I now call the natural laws. And when you look at how they didn't realize they were doing this a lot of the times, but this is just naturally how they went about life that promoted physiology changes, promoted healing in their cells. They manifested better health. And once I understood how to manifest better health, I realized it's actually the same exact process for manifesting anything that you want in your life, whether it be better finances, whether it be better relationships. We say the big three areas of life are health, wealth, and relationships. There's little micro areas that sort, but those are kind of the big three areas. When people want to create change in their life, it's usually in one of those three areas. And everything extends from your inner state, from your inner being, from your physiology, from who you are internally. That's how you create everything else. And so health is really the foundation of all manifestations. So I kind of stumbled into this from understanding health, illness, wellness. How do we create physiological change? And I've gone through several of my own manifestation journeys around health as well. So, my own experience of this also I had suffered after my grandmother passed away, I actually developed chronic back pain at 14 years old.
Oh,
And
wow.
that lasted for about 27 years until I had a spontaneous healing of it at 41. And I reverse engineered what I did to actually create the opportunity to have that spontaneous healing occur, where I manifested like a pain-free back after 27 years of back pain. And again, just by following these principles and following these laws. And so this is now what I teach when I travel and write and lecture and all those kinds of things. We have a learning institute. So I train students and work with clients on these principles.
Mhm. Very, very fascinating. And the thing is, when it comes to healing, there's so many different methods, different strategies, and unfortunately, sometimes the traditional methods are sometimes more just blindly followed without questioning why or how.
Mhm.
And methods like the ones you're promoting now sometimes go, "Ooh, I don't know. That doesn't sound as successful as a traditional method." How do you deal with that? Because lots of people are going, you know what? The doctor said this. I need to do surgery. I need to do this. I need to do that. And you're telling me I just need to think this way. I need to live this way. I have to change this aspect of my life. Well, this sounds like there's more action involved, and this seems like it's just thinking positively. How do you like navigate through that when people come up to you going, I don't know.
Yeah, well, so first of all, it's definitely more than just thinking positively in terms of creating manifestation. And on the other side, a good point that you point out is lots of times we give our power over to external authorities when it comes to medicine in particular,
Yeah.
right? To doctors or whoever else it is. But what I like to ask people when I teach and travel, Fong, is this. I say I might have a room of 500 people, 100 people, 20 people, it doesn't matter. But the question I ask is who in here has a body? And I say, raise your hand if you have a body, right? And so, like some people don't play, and like some people raise their hands, but it's like eventually it's like, okay, everybody here has a body, right? And I say, well, explain it to me. Like, how do you know you have a body? And there's no right or wrong answers. I just want to get the conversation rolling. And so people say things like, well, I can feel it, it hurts, I can smell it, or I can whatever it is, all these things. And they say, okay, great. So now who in this room has a mind? And people laugh and they're like, well, I left it home or I forgot it, or sometimes I lose it. But everybody's like, okay. So I said, well, how do you know? Like, how do you know you have a mind? Tell me, give me some, examples. And people say, well, I think, I feel, I can talk, whatever. And again, it doesn't matter what the answers are. What people are telling me, they're saying, okay, well, I have a mind. And then I say, who in this room is or has some relationship with spirit? And just about everybody raises their hands. And I say, well, how do you know? Tell me. And people are like, well, I mean, I believe it, or I just know it, or I can feel it. And again, the answers don't matter. But the thing is that everybody raises their hand for all three things. And I say, okay, so if you raised your hand that yes, you have a body, yes, you have a mind, yes, you have or have some relation with spirit. Do you realize that right now in this moment, you're living on three planes of existence simultaneously? In this very moment, you're living on a body plane, you're living on a mental, emotional plane or mind plane, and you're living on a spiritual plane all at the same time. So, especially when you're talking about healing the physical body, what we get really caught up in the Western medical traditions is we're going to treat the body. And so, if you're only focused on treating the body, you're always then only treating one third of a person's holistic human experience. You're never going to get a good outcome that way. Because in order to get the best outcome, you have to see people as living on these three planes of existence because they always interact with one another, right? Our physical plane always interacts with our mental emotional plane. There's research to support all of this. And our spiritual plane. And so then you might say, well, what do I mean about spiritual plane? Well, just think about meaning. So you can actually think about like the meaning that people make about life is kind of intimately connected with what they would consider their spiritual, like something bigger than themselves. How are you connected to something bigger than your local self? And so we know that meaning and purpose play a huge role in healing or in manifesting not only health, but in manifesting anything in your life. So the first thing I like to do when people bring up kind of like a question like that, like, well, how do you explain this? It sounds a little weird to me. I ask them those three questions. And I say, so if we were only focusing on one part, how well do you think your outcome is going to be? Wouldn't it be better? Would you agree that would be more effective if we actually looked at you as a holistic being and understood how all three parts of you work together and then address all three parts of those to get the best holistic response in your life?
So when you work with people to either heal faster or get better results or better relationships, better entrepreneurship, mindset, all that kind of stuff, you treat all three planes then.
Yes. Yeah, you
Do
have to. You have to in some way address all three planes.
Mhm. And do you sometimes collaborate with what they're already doing? Like for instance, yeah, they already have a doctor who's prescribing him this, this, and this. Do you kind of go, okay, let's try this with this, and then eventually maybe replace it completely as the results come up?
Oh yeah, 100%. So I'm all about collaboration and working with what's already working. So if someone has something in place that they're already doing that's working for them and they feel connected to it and they feel like it's productive, then we want to build on what's already working for people. Now, if people come and say, listen, I don't feel like this is working anymore, or I'm struggling with this aspect of something, then we want to look for how are we going to not only replace that thing, but evolve that thing. So what about this is working and how can we evolve it? So that's kind of how I approach it.
No, when somebody does come up to you going, I don't think this is working, is it more so because they're not open enough to kind of embrace the strategy and this method, or is it just because it's not working properly for them?
Yeah, well, so it's usually a couple of things. Number one, something might not be working because they have evolved past it. They've like kind of grown past it. They've done what they can do with it, and now they need to step a little bit further. Another reason it might not be working is that other point you just noted is that they have a block around it, that there's some inner resistance that's showing up that's not allowing them to uptake the information or the treat, we could call it a treatment or the process or whatever it is, and they have some type of block around it or blind spot around it. So they're not actually seeing the effectiveness or how to use it in an effective way. It's usually one of those two reasons that we have to sort that out for people too. We have to figure out which one is it. Is it just that you've maxed out this particular thing you're doing and you have to go farther than that? Like even think about it like medications, for instance. Some people take medications and they top out on the effectiveness of that medication. It's not going to be any more effective and they're actually losing benefits from it. So they have to evolve something in that regard. Not that I use medications. I'm not a prescribing physician or doctor. It's just an example that I think some people might understand.
I kind of want to dive into this a little bit deeper with regards to
Yeah.
what works and what doesn't work and what you've gone through to help people make it work kind of thing. So for instance, do you have a case study or a success story that you could share with us where somebody came in very, very skeptical, but trying whatever they can to make it better, and you have to go through a process of, okay, think about it this way, or try this, try that, and eventually the results came that really would have been like a complete 180 for them if they went the other way.
Yeah, so I have actually kind of a funny story that I'll share with you. I was working with this Fortune 500 CEO, and this is when I was back doing clinical care a long time ago in my clinical practice. And he had a brain injury, and he was actually still working as a CEO even with a
Wow.
brain injury. And so his brain injury was causing him some balance problems, and so he was kind of falling down, falling over, and having trouble walking and those kinds of things. And this guy was really beat to his own drum. You know what I mean? He's like he was a decision maker. He was the head of a company. It was kind of an old school kind of fella in terms of like what he said went and that sort of stuff. So I remember when I was working with him, and I thought he could really benefit from doing some Tai Chi practice, actually Tai Chi practices as a part of his recovery. And I realized I had to meet him where he was. And so when I said to him the first time, I said, "Hey, I think that." We should probably be doing some Tai Chi to help your balance. He's like, I'm not doing that, fill in the blank, right? I'm not doing that stuff. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. I said, so let's try this instead. And so I said, go ahead and let's stand up on your feet and let's just have you, feel rooted to the ground, relax your knees, center your spine, lift the crown of your head to the sky. Just start to move gently forward and back, which can move slow because it's good control. I said, what do you think? Think moving slow helps your control? He's like, yeah. So I was basically like, doing Tai Chi with him without calling it Tai Chi. Like we went through all the steps of it, right? Moving slow and fluid. I've been a Tai Chi and Qigong practitioner trainer for many, many years. So I do this as part of my practice. And so we did these practices for about 8 weeks. And then all of a sudden, this new book came out called The Harvard Medical School Guide to Tai Chi. And I was so excited. I got it in the mail. And I read through it, and I knew he was coming in for treatment this day. And I took the book and I I put it on a table by the door of the clinic, so I knew he'd see it when he came in. And he walks in and he walks past it, And he steps back and he looks at it and he picks it up and he's like, Harvard Medical School does Tai Chi? He said, I think we should be doing Tai Chi. And I said, I laughed. And I said, we've been doing it for 8 weeks. And his balance was getting better and his flexibility was getting better, his fluent, but I had to meet him where he was. And I think that's one of the secrets, like when people are blocked or when they're stuck, you have to be able to meet them where they are. And you have to be able to give them breadcrumbs to walk to the next point of evolution for them. So this character was not ever going to trust anything I said, but I knew he would trust Harvard, right? Because that had this elite status, expert status, like those kinds of things. And as soon as he was like, and then believe it or not, he was into it. He's like, let's go full in with what we've been doing. And we started doing these longer forums and longer practices, and his balance got better. And it was really actually a really fun experience with him. After that, he, ended up being able to ride his bike again and that kind of stuff afterwards. So this is just a simple example. Again, you have to be able to know where you are and meet yourself where you are. And then also ask yourself, what's my next step of evolution? So never be satisfied staying where you are, right? Because staying where you are just creates stagnation. And it doesn't mean you have to move forward by big leaps and bounds. Like steps are fine, but you have to find ways to meet yourself where you are, understand how you got where you are, and then devise a plan just to take one step forward each day. And if it's leaps and bounds, that's great. But the idea is to keep moving forward with what you're doing.
That is awesome. And as you were telling that story, I'm like, I know where he's going.
Yeah.
He's sneaky.
Yeah, I was totally sneaky. Yeah.
Can you share with us why you think the traditional methods and traditional institutes are somewhat reluctant for collaboration? You said you're very open to collaborating with other people, and usually it's behind the scenes. Okay, we'll work with what they're saying, but it doesn't usually go the other way around. Right? The person going to the doctor getting prescribed medicine and also potentially schedule a surgery and all that kind of stuff. That doctor's not going, okay, you're doing this with this. Okay, let's collab. They don't do that. Why is it that way?
Well, I think, medicine is afflicted with a reversed way of thinking about things. Okay, so let me just say it by this. There were things in that are proven now in science that were at one time taboo. Right? So hand washing, for instance, like I don't have all the whole story at the tip of my tongue right now, but the whole story with hand washing, I don't know if you ever heard about this, but there was a time before hand washing was routine care in medicine. And the guy who was a proponent of hand washing, he noticed that what they recognized, this is I think back in Geneva, like in the 1800s or something like that, late 1800s, early 1900s. And in the birthing clinics, that women were dying of birth, during birth. A very high percentage of women were dying during birth, and nobody could figure out why that was happening. Right? It was just happening, but it was like alarmingly high. But it wasn't happening at a women-operated birth clinic, like also in Geneva. They had a very low rate of mortality for birth deaths, but at this hospital, there's a very high rate of mortality at birthing deaths. And this one physician was like, "What's going on with this?" And it didn't occur to him until one of his colleagues died of the same exact symptoms and fevers that women were dying with during childbirth. And so what he realized is that that physician had nicked himself while doing an autopsy. Now, this is before penicillin, right? This is before any kind of antibiotics. And so then what he realized is that the doctors that were giving birth, that were helping guide birth at this hospital, were coming directly from doing autopsies and carrying the germs from the autopsy into the birthing unit and basically infecting the women who were dying of bacterial disease. But of course, bacteria wasn't even known at this time either. So he was on a mission to basically change that. And it turns out that he actually got ostracized so badly for this. He was put in an insane asylum and he died in an insane asylum. But there was a time when doctors fought against hand washing. The doctors were like, "We're gentlemen. We're not dirty. We wouldn't do that." That was their excuse. And they were killing patients because they were too proud to wash their hands. And this is kind of because there was no evidence that you had to do it yet. And again, this is the backward thing that happens with medicine. Medicine, unfortunately, waits a little too long to work with things that have anecdotal evidence because they're looking for peer-reviewed scientific. I'm not saying peer-reviewed scientific evidence isn't valuable and good, but it can't be the place we start from. Because if we try to start from there, we're never going to make any evolution in medicine at all. And if we don't allow anecdotal or kind of traditional wisdom or intuitive wisdom to come forth with the practices, then we don't evolve anything either. And so I think in medicine, what can happen is that we get very, very attached to the status quo, very attached to the status quo and what we can empirically prove, even though it's been shown you can't actually empirically prove anything at all because every study has false readings and false kind of things. Even the best designed studies have those problems. And so I think medicine's kind of afflicted with this kind of prove it mentality. But Price Pritchett said the absence of proof is not the proof of absence. And I think we have to really kind of bring that kind of enlightened thinking into evolving what we're doing. And I think that's where modern medicine in particular, and it could be a lot of traditional business strategies also get mired down by that as well. Some of the big businesses like Blockbuster, think about Blockbuster. They used to be the king of the hill in terms of video resources, which is a business example, but they stuck so hard to this idea of VHS, rentals and never thinking, oh, video is ever going to go anywhere. They never got involved with that and they got crushed by Netflix and all these other streaming services after that. So when we adhere too much to what we can prove or what's already been proven without evolving it, that ends up being a death rattle for a business. And I think that's ultimately why medicine is not evolving as fast as it could evolve and why a lot of traditional medical institutions don't really like to collaborate with people who are more forward thinking or more anecdotally driven.
Have you found that given like years like moving forward that that gap is somewhat reducing? Is there steps towards putting both sides together a little bit more often at a more early stage of medicine or institution education and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, I think there's still a lot of resistance to implementing things that aren't quote unquote proven yet.
Right.
But I will say if you look historically at it, it is speeding up. And I think it's speeding up for a couple of reasons. Number one, just the internet actually speeding things up. Our interconnectivity, like how connected we are, is speeding things up because now research can share faster back and forth results and studies and those kinds of things. And so just the incubation of learning becomes much more rich because it happens faster. Number two, again, internet or interconnectivity, there's a lot more pressure to create change in certain areas. So now when you have higher social pressures, that drives change. Right? A lot of people don't change just for the sake of changing. I think there are some really good people in medicine who do things because they're curious about it. They want to move it forward. But a lot of times it comes from social pressures or from funding pressures, from monetary pressures. And so the more people you have pushing on something, the more likely it's going to change faster. And the internet has brought that along too. So I'm not sure the medical institutions want to change faster, but I think they have more external pressures to do so. And I think that is speeding things up.
I think one of the things that kind of bugged me a little bit with regards to the whole medical institutions and all that kind of stuff is sometimes they go the drastic route and go, well, if you don't do this, you're gonna die. Do you not value
Yeah.
your life kind of thing? Whereas if you go with somebody else who's a little bit more forward thinking, they go, oh no, you just need to do this, this, and this. Just change your lifestyle and you'll be fine kind of thing. And it puts the patient in that whole, well, which way do I go? Like this
Yeah.
person's telling me I'm not gonna live, but this person's telling me something that sounds too easy to be true. Like what's your comment on that? Because sometimes it's so conflicted.
Yeah, can be really conflicting. And we talk about this in the book actually, the Manifestation for Dummies book. We talk about the placebo effect and the
Mhm.
nocebo effect. So the placebo effect has an opposite called the nocebo effect, where the placebo effect, if the conditions are right, and you have a placebo that is kind of trending, like it's like, oh, it's helping other people. It comes from a reputable source of referral from a friend or a magazine that's reputable or something. And the person providing it to you is likable and amenable and listens, then that can create what we call a placebo effect. The placebo effect is really about activating the inherent healing mechanisms in the body to do what the body already knows how to do, which is heal, right? And then you also have what we call the nocebo effect, though. What the research shows is that when a physician who comes at things from a more pessimistic or negatively driven lens, they can actually cause harm for patients. They can cause higher blood pressure. They can cause, inflammation in the system. They can cause more muscle pain by putting someone in a bind, such as if you don't do this, you're going to die. Like that's kind of could be potentially a nocebo effect, unless it's like something, like your appendix has burst or something. It's like if that's the case, then probably go get your appendix taken out. But a lot of people dealing with other types of things, chronic issues, like whether they be cancer or fibromyalgia or Crohn's disease or something of that nature. Lots of times there are plenty of options outside of traditional medicine that can be very, very helpful for people. I think ultimately we need a blend of both. I'm not anti-traditional Western medicine. I'm trained in both Western and Eastern medicine traditions. I'm always looking at finding a practitioner or provider that helps you as the client feel more empowered. I think that's really the case, because if you want to stimulate someone's inherent healing processes, it comes through empowerment, not through disempowerment. And I think a lot of times that's what can happen in the Western medical traditions. It's very disempowering to be told you have to take a pill 3 times a day. You have to have this treatment. You have to have that treatment. You have to do this. You have to do that. My question is, do you feel empowered by your practitioners, or do you feel disempowered by your practitioners? Because ultimately that's going to be a huge indicator of how fast and how completely you heal.
And obviously, when it comes to health, a lot of that has to do with our day-to-day lives. We focused a lot on the healing aspect, and
Yep,
honestly, I would like to prevent having to heal. I would like to
agreed.
be able to live a life that is, free flowing and also healthy, and without having to face any pain or disease and whatnot. So right now, there's a lot of people out there, and with the world, it's so busy. There's so much stuff going on. We're bombarded with this and that, and it seems like there's never enough time in the day. Lots of entrepreneurs out there are either getting burned out or very, very high stress and all that kind of stuff. How do you help that aspect of clients where, hey, I know you have to do this, I know it's important, but this is what you need to start implementing so that you don't get that stress, you don't get that burnout, then you can actually live more healthier in the long term.
Yeah, so I love this question. And people are always looking for, how do I want to say it? Like ninja moves here, like ninja moves to do this, because the last thing people want to hear is another thing they have to do. Like, we'll just, go for a walk, take an extra 15 minutes to prepare fresh food. It's like, I'm already out of time in my day. Like, what am I going to do? The
They're like, oh, I
really
have to
the
put this in my calendar now, and now I have to find a space for it.
Exactly, exactly. One of the key elements to staying healthy and having longevity, because it's not just about lifespan, it's also about health span, right? So lifespan is about how long you're going to live. Health span is about how well you're going to live, kind of thing. And I think most of us would agree we would want our health span to be as long as our lifespan. We want to be healthy until we're not in physical form anymore, instead of kind of degrading kind of at the end of our life. And ultimately, it's really about purpose, Fong. That's, I think, if you're going to spend any time in wanting to infuse vitality into your life on a moment to moment basis, is understanding your purpose. And this is a little difference. Purpose, the way we approach purpose is not a doing state, it's a being state. So people think, well, my purpose is to be an entrepreneur. My purpose is to be a teacher. My purpose is to be a doctor. Those are all doing states. And if your purpose is to be an entrepreneur, a teacher, or a doctor, well, what happens when you're not an entrepreneur, teacher, or a doctor anymore?
Mhm.
And this is when people actually go into existential crisis, because they're like, oh my God, I'm not the thing I was meant to be. Well, that's not purpose. Well, if you approach purpose like that, you're always going to have a problem. So purpose is it's a way of being in the world. And each of us has a unique way of being in the world, And when you understand that you have a purpose, but you can have several missions in your life. So it might be your mission to be a doctor. You might be your mission to be an entrepreneur. You might be on a mission to go get a burrito, right? But those are just missions. Those are doings. The being state is what infuses all of that. So in the book, we have a little process we walk people through of how to help them determine or quickly get in touch with their purpose state. My wife wrote a book called Find Your Soul's Agenda, which goes deeper into this process and it's an amazing process. It was a best-selling book on Amazon that you can still find on Amazon audiobook, and to walk yourself through the process. But it's basically the being state is really based in it's a felt quality, Fong. It's like it's something that you feel internally. There's a sensation marker for it. So if you feel something and you feel it in your body someplace, we always say where and what. Where do you feel it? What does it feel like? And so people have told me that when we walk them through this process, just some examples, the purpose might feel like a lightness in their heart. It might feel like a strength in their legs. It might feel like a firmness in their belly. It might feel like a lightness behind their eyes. I mean, we hear all kinds of things. But once someone connects with their purpose state, they realize you can access that all day long, no matter what you're doing. You can access that when you're with your family, when you're rocking your crying baby, when you're on your way to work, when you're going to a friend's funeral, when you're getting the raise, when you just lost your job. It's like you can always access that purpose state no matter what you have going on in your doing state in your life. When you're connected to your inner purpose, your being state, you're always connected to the reasons that you're here and what you're supposed to experience in this world to help yourself evolve as not only a human being, but also on those three levels of existence also, right? Also as a spiritual being. And that's a person plugged in to the source of energy. And when they do that, you actually can't burn out, because you're plugged into the source of energy. Burnout is when you run out of that energy because we've been working too hard and we've been actually probably working for ways that are not connected to our being state or really not who we are. Oftentimes we burn out when we're trying to fulfill other people's dreams for us, or we're trying to fulfill other people's purpose that was imposed upon us. That's when we tend to burn out. And I've had that experience, so I totally get that. But once you're connected to your authentic being state, like in a felt quality way, and you learn how to access it moment to moment, you're plugged in all of the time. You might be plugged in a little, you might be plugged in a lot, but you're always plugged in.
As you're explaining that and describing that, in my mind, it's like, okay, this person's trying to find the meaning of life. He's going through snowstorms and deserts and all this
Yeah,
stuff from a young age all the way up until they're old to this mountain, and then go, what's the meaning of life? So
yeah.
I guess my question to you, and I understand that you have a lot of this in your books, what's that? How long does that take? Because it sounds like, oh man, this is going to take years for me to find that purpose state. Or is it simply we need to adjust certain things that we do in our day-to-day lives, and eventually you'll get there, and it's going to be a lot sooner than this whole journey to the mountains, and that one guru on the top of it will tell you what the meaning of life.
I love that. That's a great analogy, Fong.
I remember that one episode of Simpsons where Homer reaches that peak and goes,
Yeah.
"What's the meaning of life?" It's like, do you really want to know now?
Oh, I love that. That's so good. So actually, finding your purpose state is pretty quick. That doesn't take very long to be able to walk through just a short process in order to kind of find the purpose state. That's not the hard part. The hard part is coming back to it. The hard part is remembering it. The hard part is actually nourishing it every day. It's like a plant. We liken it to an acorn, because you can have an acorn inside of an acorn is an oak tree, right? The blueprint for the oak tree is inside of the acorn, and you're not going to crack open the acorn and find a whole oak tree in there, but the whole blueprint for it is in that acorn. Now, you could take an acorn and put it on your desk, and it'll never turn into an oak tree. But as long as you plant it, if you plant it in rich, fertile soil and you water it every day, it will magically turn into an oak tree without you having to do any more than just plant it and water it. You don't have to do anything else to it. Just plant it and water it and water it and water it and water it. Now, if you don't stop watering it, it's not going to turn into an oak tree. It's going to die. But if you keep watering it, it'll keep growing and growing and growing. And eventually it'll take on its own life. That's the same way of what I'm talking about. When you're connected to the felt quality, what we call the sensation base of your purpose state, all you have to do is remember to nourish it and water it every single day. I don't have to nourish it all day long, but you have to remember to nourish it like several times a day. Just come back to it. Oh, there's my purpose day. I'm gonna reconnect with those sensations again and again and again and again and again. And what happens is they start to create a life of their own. Because after a while, you don't have to water the oak tree anymore because it's like you can plant it outside and it just takes over and nature just like infuses it. That's the same exact thing. So finding it isn't the problem. It's nourishing it that becomes the big problem for people. And that's where all the resistance comes up and all the other shoulds in their life, like all the other distractions or commitments or responsibilities and all those kinds of things, which by the way, other people probably heap those things on them anyway. Right. So we grow up and we learn like what it means to be responsible from our family of origin that we grow up in. And we never really ask ourselves, what do I think it means to be responsible? Right. And or we think we're raised with all these shoulds and we're like, well, actually, is that true? Like, is that something I have to do or should do? Or is there something that I want to kind of move forward? And when you just nourish your own purpose state, and you blossom, like an intersection of you blossoms, and you just start to let go of, and that's the harder part too, Fong, is actually letting go of all the stuff you were taught about yourself and all the stuff you're taught about the world. But when you can do those two things, that's what I think actually success is. And I love the theme and the title of your show, I think is brilliant. I love it. Like this idea of peak potential success, because for me, success is when you show up as who you were always meant to be in the world. And on a daily basis, you experience life the way that you had always intended to experience it. And you let go of and you shake off all the shackles that other people have put on and put on you in your life.
Wow, awesome. Thank you for that, and kind of bring it back to the whole show title and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Much appreciated. So lots of people here are entrepreneurs. They've gone through a lot of these, self-helps. They've gone through a lot of
Yep.
conferences on that, and a lot of gurus and experts out there are saying, find your why, find your purpose. Is this
Yeah.
very similar to what you're talking about?
Yeah, I would say it is similar, but again, the one difference is a lot of people when they get pulled into that find your purpose or find your why, they get pulled into again that doing state. So
Yeah.
it looks like my why is to run a podcast, my why is to teach, my why is to present, and those all might be part of it. But you have to ask yourself, are those extensions of what your purpose feels like internally? Because if it's true that your why is the podcast or the business or the entrepreneur, then they all should link back to this common felt purpose, right? They should all feel a certain way where you can say, yes, I'm on purpose right now. I'm on purpose right now doing the podcast. I'm on purpose right now delivering my services. I'm on purpose right now, like going to the grocery store. I'm on purpose right now, going on vacation, whatever it is. So yes, it is linked to it. And there's a lot of truth in that it all links back to this idea of purpose. Because your purpose, if you're really connected to your purpose and that felt quality, if you ever feel lost, if you ever feel lost about what's next for me, you ask that part of yourself. You go, oh, that lightness if I just get in touch with that lightness in my heart, if I just get in touch with that lightness in my heart, and maybe I need to take a walk, maybe I need to take a couple of days off, maybe I need to, not eat for a couple of days and fast or something like that. I don't know. Everybody has different ways to do this. But if I can get connected to that lightness and I just ask it, okay, what's next for me? What's next for me? How can I nourish you more? How can I express this felt quality more? Then the next doing state will always arise from there.
Right. Now, aside from reaching this state of purpose, which is explained in your books and how to get there, what else can people do on a day-to-day basis that would get them in that state of peace or calm? Because a lot of that ties into how they make decisions about certain business deals or ventures or relationships and whatnot. And when they're not in the right state of mind, when they're not calm, when they're not at peace, they might take actions or say the wrong things and whatnot. So, what's something that people should do on a day-to-day basis, whether it's meditation or go for a walk, that you recommend that they implement?
Yeah, this is great. Great. It's a great 2-for-1 actually answer here, Fong. Because the one part is, again, we talked a lot about getting in touch with that purpose state. Now that purpose, that feeling state is going to feel like something. Now here's the challenge with this. A lot of people either one are just disconnected from their bodies and they live in their heads most of the time. Or number two, they don't like how they feel in their bodies. Like their bodies are tight and painful and sore and all these other things, right? So who would want to go down there into their body if that's what it feels like? So my focus is help to reduce, and here's the key thing, chronic tension in the body. It's really about, if there's one thing that you want to do to get the 2-for-1 here, number one is reduce that chronic tension in the body. Because when you have a lot of chronic tension in the body, there's a whole bunch of physiological things that happen. Your circulation is not good. There's more inflammation in the system. Your blood lactate levels are higher, which actually produce more anxiety, cognitively, emotionally for you. So chronic tension like carries with it a whole bunch of just bad things physiologically. But the other thing it does is if you have all this chronic tension, then what happens is your attention is on all of the painful tension in the body. And it makes it very difficult to get in touch with those whispers of purpose in your body. Because the purpose is like a whisper in your body. You feel it someplace, but it feels like a whisper. It's not screaming at you. Chronic tension screams at you. So if you've ever had like two friends, or like if you're raising kids or something like that, and you have one of your kids is just screaming all the time, and the other one is just quiet all the time, like by nature, which kid gets more attention? The one that's screaming all the time. Now, I'm not saying that's fair or right, but that's kind of what happens because, screaming gets attention. So in your body, it's all about reducing chronic tension. So how do you go about doing that? Well, one way we do it, we teach a lot of self-massage practices. And so there's some in the book, actually, some self-massage practices. And using acupressure points to do that. There's certain acupressure points in the body that kind of act like regulation switches or thermostats, that when you work on those places, they reduce tension globally in different parts of your body. So there's a lot of just great self-massage practices that you can do, even over the back of the neck and the shoulder, some tension points in the head and forehead, some spots on the low back. Anything to reduce chronic tension on a regular basis is really, really great. Gentle movement practices. So breath, movement, and breathing practices together also help to reduce that chronic tension. So we call them core centering Qigong practices or core centering practices. They look like Qigong and Tai Chi practices, except they're based in that same mode of somatic practice. But really what they're designed to do is help reduce chronic tension. And then breath work, right? There's some easy, deep breathing practices. We can do one right now. I'm going to show you the fastest one to reduce chronic tension. It's called the physiologic sigh. And so what it is, you take a breath in, you take about a 90% breath in, and then you top it off with another 10% breath. And then you do an audible sigh out. This was studied at Stanford, showing that it's the breath that most quickly shifts someone into what we call a parasympathetic state and reduces tension in the body. So ready? Let's do it together, Fong. You ready to do it? 90% in, top it off, and then do that three times, and it actually reduces chronic tension in the system. And how easy is that to do? And then finally, meditation practices. But we don't jump all the way to meditation, because what happens when most people practice meditation is that they sit down and then their mind goes crazy and they're like, I can't do this. And they just get up and they walk away from it. That's the biggest reason why I hear people say, I don't meditate, is because I can't stop my mind from thinking. And I said, well, good, because that's actually not the point to begin with. But it can be so distressing for people that we start with self-massage, mindful movement, and breath practices to prepare someone to be able to sit quietly and observe what's going on in their mental constructs without becoming distressed by it. So it's all about reducing chronic tension, Fong. And when you do that, you actually enhance your health simultaneously, as well as being able to get in touch with your deeper purpose states.
That is awesome. I think you're the first person I heard say that there's a warm up before you get to the meditation stuff. Because I
Very
talk to a lot of
important.
people and they go, "Oh, you just sit and you focus." I'm like, "Well, no, that's not what I can't. My mind's
Yeah,
going off." But you're like,
that's the
"Oh,
worst.
see, what you just did was you're telling me how to trick myself because you're sneaky that way, right?"
Yeah, exactly.
First of all, you do this little massage thing, which gets you a
Yeah,
little calm. Then you do this little
yeah,
breathing thing that gets you even
yeah,
calmer. Uh-oh, wait a
yeah,
minute. Now you're doing
yeah.
meditation. I'm like, I got
Yeah.
it. I like
You
how your
got
mind
me,
works.
Fong. You got me.
Well, thank you very much. You've said a lot of stuff already and given us a lot of great tips. What is it that you're looking for right now? Like, what is the type of clients that you're looking for that gets the best results? Or do you have like big speaking things coming up? I know you have a few books out. What is it that you're looking for?
Yeah, so we have two tracks of learning, if you will, at the Somatic Coaching Academy, which is, so I'm the co-founder and director of education here at the Somatic Coaching Academy. And so one track, we have a certification track where we actually teach people how to do the sensation-based motivation coaching methods that my wife Ani and I have methodized and have proprietary trademarks around. And so we have three levels of training over there: somatic practice essentials, somatic transformation fundamentals, and somatic coaching um, pro. So that's like a professional track. And so a lot of people come to that track are coaching professionals and healthcare professionals because they want to learn how to do what Ani and I have been doing for 20 plus years with our clients. The other side of it, we have a track, it's more of a personal development track. And so we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, small business CEOs, managers, leaders, and how to learn how to integrate not only somatic practices into their own manifestation journey, but work more deeply with what we call the natural laws of creation, which we talk a lot about in the book. That when you align with these natural laws, you can make your creation and manifestation process seamless, easy, but very practical and grounded. So we have a manifestation lab that's going to be launching the fall of 2026, which is really a kind of a do-it-yourself with a lot of accountability, help, and support. That's a direct program from the book. But for years, we've been running a year-long mastermind called Living with the Laws, where we take entrepreneurs and small business CEOs month by month, teaching them how to integrate different natural laws into their life. We give them exercises, integration work, coaching, all those kinds of things. And people have just amazing responses, even just a couple of months into the program, where they increase their revenue, but they also feel happier, more like grounded, more purposeful themselves. They shed limiting beliefs and just really just exponentially leap their business practices and their life practices and their health practices. So we have those two different tracks that we do with people: personal development or personal development. A lot of people are just loving this Living the Laws program, small group mastermind program that we run every year.
Awesome. And what's the best way for people to get in touch with that?
So they can find us at somaticcoachingacademy.com. That's the best place to find us. You can find us at Instagram, also at somaticcoachingacademy.com, or any of the socials. We're right there. But the best thing is just come to the website. We got a whole bunch of freebies. Actually, I've shared some freebies with you that you can share with your community as well, Fong. We have some negative pattern disruption practices. We have a manifestation guide in there for some of these free gifts for your community. So if they want to check out anything we're doing at the Somatic Coaching Academy, they can always find us right there.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much for all that. Now, before I let you go, I got some quick rapid fire questions for you. Give me the first thing that
Okay.
comes to mind. All right, you're stranded on the desert island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence, you'll be healthy. What would that be?
Oh gosh. Any food, no
No
consequence?
consequence. No, you
Oh
can eat
my
candy for the
God.
whole time.
No consequence.
See, I
Oh
don't
my
think most
God.
most people don't hear that part, and they give me like
Right.
bananas. Like, come on.
I was going to say blueberries until I was like, wait, there's no consequence. There's this Australian tea cake that's made at this bakery about 30 miles from my house that is absolutely amazing. There's so much butter in it, Fong, that that I think I would turn to butter if I ate it every single day. But there's no consequence, so I'm going with Australian tea cake.
Perfect. That's the right answer right there. Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, Brian, we love your story. Very, very inspirational. We love to do a biopic of you. Who would you cast to play you?"
Oh well, look at me, man. I used to be Vin Diesel. Actually, people used to say, "Brian, you look a lot like Vin Diesel," and so I've lost a lot of muscle mass since those days. But I think I'll go with Vin Diesel.
Well, he shows up, goes, "Hey, family, I got,
That's right.
let's have fun. Let's hang out. I got cast to play you." What does that night look like?
Oh, the night we do the
Well, no,
casting.
he shows up at your door and goes, "Hey,
Oh,
let's hang out. I need to get to know you, know everything about you." What does that night look like? Where do you take them? What are you guys doing? Where are you having fun with?
oh, we totally go across the road and have my mother make pasta for us and have a night eating Italian, just eating Italian food and just talking about life and talking about the movie and how it's going to work out and all those kinds of things. And of course, have some Australian tea cake for dessert. That's what we would do.
All right. For whatever reason, you're a professional wrestler. You're at the WWE or whatever that is, and you're coming out to your intro music. Which song is that going to be?
Oh, so my intro song is "Take It Easy" by the Eagles.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's for me, it's just all about like going with the flow, take it easy, don't knock yourself down so much. Just let it ride and just like enjoy life, enjoy the ride in a way that feels fluid and easy for you.
Nicely done. Give me a number from 1 to 5.
Three.
1, 2, 3. So the word is stamps. All right. I
Okay.
know you gave us the definition for success before, but if you had to use stamps as a metaphor for success, how is success like stamps?
Oh, nice. So success is success. Oh, okay, it's coming to me right here. I was going to say your next success is tomorrow, the next day, right? I mean, so your next success could be as close as sometime in the near future. And so write that letter to yourself, write that letter to yourself right now. I can actually say you can send it to backwards, but I'm a forward thinking kind of character. So I would say write yourself a letter right now and stamp it to yourself a year from now and give yourself those prompts or those questions, like put them in the letter, put them on a stamp, send them into the future. And then when it arrives a year from now, look at that and see how far you've come, even if you're just taking little steps day by day. So I see it's like signed, sealed, stamped, and delivered. Like there's my probably horrible explanation of stamps and success.
Nicely done. That's how success is like stamps. I like how you did that because you also sneakily put in some meditation in there too.
Yeah,
And manifestation in there. You manifested that future. So
exactly.
awesome. Thank you very much. Much appreciate your time and all your stories and your expertise here. Any final words for you?
Fong, my last word that I say to everybody is get out of your head and into your body. Like, if you really want to be successful and you want to have a completely successful life, practice as much as you can, just getting out of your head and getting into the felt quality state in your body. It's going to help you be a more grounded, well-rounded, self-knowledgeable, centered human being.
Awesome. Thank you very much. For everybody out there, make sure you connect with Brian. Obviously, he knows what he's talking about. If you're in that realm of wanting to learn what he's doing and help other people doing what he's doing, connect with him. Or if you want to, find out better ways to manifest your success and manifest better health, connect with him with as well. Like he says, lots of stuff on his website. Check that stuff out. And thank you very much. So until next time, he's Brian. I'm Fong. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you later.